walk me through your actual sales script. Like, hey, this is kind of how I do my intro. Then I move here. This is how I pitch my options, and then this
Mhm.
is how I close. And you can,
So yeah. So biggest thing for intro is be loud. Like I mean, I've never personally met, I'm not saying they're not out there because I've never personally met a top producer who isn't like loud on the phones. So it's like that's one of the biggest things I say is like you have to be loud. You know what I mean? You have to have energy whenever you go into the call. Because if you're just sitting there and like, hey, Mr. Tarpley, yeah, hey, it's Bryson Martin. Like, no, bro, like no one wants to talk to you. But if like you call them and you're like, yeah, hey, me, like, and you actually have some enthusiasm behind you, like that's going to change the entire trajectory of every single phone call you go into.
so give me an example of what that would look like through like an intro for an agent. That's like,
Mhm.
what do you mean, Preston? Like, what do you mean be loud? Like, do I have to yell at them or give
No,
them?
yes. Be uncomfortable with how, like, if you think you're talking like loud, and it's like I've had agents that are like, am I like I thought I was talking loud. It's like, no, like get uncomfortable. Like when you're uncomfortable in any situation, that's when you're gonna grow. And that's like in every aspect of the business and life and everything.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like you have
Okay.
to be uncomfortable being uncomfortable. Like talk with authority.
Got you. So give me, you got a lead. You're calling. My name's
Mhm.
John. Give me your intro.
Okay, so biggest thing is honestly, whenever I started, I would like call them by their first name, and I don't even know why and it literally see it all the time. People who call like by like vets by their first name. I only run vets, by the way. So it's like that people who only run vets and they call them by their first name have a lower closing percentage than if you go Mister or
Mhm.
Mrs. Because they'll tell you like, oh, Mister is my dad's, call me John. So it's like it'd be like, hey, Mister Tarpley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Mr. Tarpley, it's just Bryson Martin. I was giving you a call regarding the form you had submitted regarding the insurance plans for veterans.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah. Yeah. I know what that is.
Okay, perfect. I would say, Mr. Tarpley, I'm just the medical underwriter assigned to you. I do work with vets 6 days a week, which means my job it is super simple. It just means I'm gonna be the one that figures out if the VA or the private sector is the better option for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, that
Okay,
does.
perfect. And then boom, you just from there, it's like before I do get too ahead of myself, I'm getting into my script. So
Got
I then I'll have them, before I get too ahead of myself, do me a favor, grab a pen and piece of paper because I don't ask them to. So it's like I'm not, hey, will you go grab me a piece of paper? Like, no, no, do me a favor, grab a pen and piece of paper and just I'll give them my first name, my license, my national, my PIN number, and then I'll also have them write down my phone number.
Okay, let me ask you a question. This is super
Mhm.
important. I kind of know the answer, but for the people that don't,
Yeah.
what is like your frame? What you just did there is very different than probably what a lot of agents are used to because they're like, I'm not gonna call Mister. But your frame that you came from was a lot more of like, hey, like I'm here to educate you and give you information rather than like, hey, you filled out this request. I'm here to like get something put in place. Can you
Mhm.
explain to an agent that doesn't necessarily know what that means? Like, why did you frame like, hey, VA benefits? Like, why did you approach it like that rather than saying, hey, like you requested, this life insurance, blah, 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 blah. Like, where does that come from? Or for an agent that doesn't know why you did what you did, can you explain that to them?
Yeah, so it's to categorize them. It's like if you're looking for like if you're shopping for like I compare like if you're shopping for anything and or if you're looking for a house, right? And you're going to get a real estate agent, right? Well, it's like if you have a real estate agent that's been in this state for a month compared to the real estate agent that's been in there for a year, like who do you think is going to know more about everything else? But the biggest thing is categorizing them, with the veterans, but also letting them know like you're there to at the end of the day put them in the best position by actually you're gonna figure out what's the better option. Is it gonna be like are we gonna be able to help them out, or is going to get a VA policy through the VA actually gonna be a better policy for them? Most of the time, it's not.
Yeah. Agents do understand or should understand, correct me if I'm wrong. Can you walk them through what is the difference between that? Like I'm a new agent. I'm like, yo, I've been hearing all these things about vets, but I'm used to running final expense. What is
Mhm.
like advice that you would give them in terms of like, okay, here's kind of the difference and here's why we
Oh
get
yeah,
the queries
yeah.
about these VA benefits. Can you explain that to them, please?
Yeah, so with final expense, I think one of the biggest things is like with vets is you don't really have to like push for like much for like a why. Like I don't push for their why, why they're getting it. Like they served in the military, they understand, like they know why they need it, and it's at the end of the day like they just need someone that's going to give it to them. So like that's the way I go. Excuse me, goodness gracious. But that's the way I go about the phone call, is because whenever you go into it like that, like if they're stubborn and you're just kind of telling them like, hey, like this is what it is. Obviously you said you can afford it, so let's get it for you. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's no beating around the bush. Like, let's get it for you.
Yeah. What are the VA? What's the difference between the two? Like
Between
what
the
the
Okay,
VA
so yeah,
benefit?
actually, believe it or
What is
not,
the
like a lot of the times, like veterans don't actually know. So the VA actually has several different policies. There's a whole website, you can literally look it up and you can find the prices too. There's like the VGLI, which is, most people don't have it. It's like a policy they have to get like 1 year, I believe, in 3 months after they get out of this, like out of service. So most people don't have that. Some people, you'll run into it every now and then. Most of the time you don't, because they don't know about it. And
Mhm.
then next is going to be like a VA life policy. And so it's a 2 year wait period policy, no medical requirements. They don't have living benefits. It's a return of premium. So it's like maybe like return of premium. I'd have to like look at the actual percentage. It's super low. It's less than 10%. The pricing's okay. It's not horrible. It could be best for older people who where you have to go GI. So it could actually be the best option for some people, but most of the time it's not. Like most of the time we're able to help them out, even if they have to get that policy. We're able to at least get them a graded policy cheaper, or still get them more coverage. So
Yeah, 100%. So that's super important because I see a lot of agents who try to approach vet leads the same way they approach final expense and they fail because
yeah,
they,
and
yeah,
that I failed. Like that's what I did. I bought, like, everyone was tearing up the vets, and I was like, bet, like, I'm gonna try them out. It's final expense. No, it's not. It's not final expense. At the end of the day, you're selling them. Yes, you are selling them the same products, but it is not final expense.
explain for the agent that's doing that what you did and how you started figuring out like, okay,
Mhm.
this I should approach it.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it takes money to learn, right? So I mean, I was buying leads. I was probably out like 4 grand. Didn't even close the deal. I had like 80 leads, and I'm like, yo, what is going on? I've never done that in the entire time in the industry. So I'm like, yo, what? Like I'm doing something way wrong. Went, talked to my upline, and it was at that point in time, it was literally something as small as like Mr. and Mrs. I was calling them by their first name, and I was still running the same script by like pushing on the why, digging here, digging there. And it's like, you don't have to do it. Yeah, you don't have to do that with vets. Right.
Cool. Person who doesn't know what that, I know what that means. That's
Mhm.
the next step. So we did the intro.
Right, right, right.
Where do you take the client next in the call?
Yeah, so then I'm pretty much straight to the point, name, license number, phone number, write it down. You actually take control. When you do that, you're taking control, and they're doing what you say. So you're grabbing their hand and being able, for that point, walking them through the sale at that point in time. They're interested. So if they grab a pen and piece of paper, your close rate literally goes up like 90%. Like me and some guys here in the office were talking about the other day. And so that's a big thing and why I do that. But next, it's literally just asking, Mr. or Mrs., would you rather be, buried or cremated? Or have you decided whether you do want to be buried or cremated? They're like, I want to be buried.
Mhm.
Okay, perfect. Now, God forbid, if you were to pass away, tomorrow, who would actually be the beneficiary kind of handling all the affairs for you?
Right. Do you mean though?
My daughter. Or like sometimes they'll literally spec my daughter, and I don't ask the name. I don't ask the name. I don't care to ask the name right there. They know it's their daughter. They know they need it. They just told me they want to be buried or cremated. So it's like that's straight to the point. They know why they need it. The why is there. But if I'm like, okay, and now what would that look like? And you're saying like that's how you run a final expense, now
Yeah.
what would that look like, if something did happen, And it's like if you say that to a vet, like, bro, they're like, you're gonna piss them off. Because it's kind of like not, I guess, kind of like an ego, maybe. I don't really know
Oh, it
the
is. It
term
is. It
to
is.
put it there.
It's a different.
It's like,
It's a
bro, like
different demographic.
they risk their life for you, and you're telling them like, what's it gonna look like if they die? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Like, they
I
know
would
what it
get
looks
pissed
like.
off. Like, I'm gonna smack you through the phone. Like,
Yeah, nah, bro. That's super valuable. Like just being direct, and that makes sense, right? Like it's like what I tell people is when you run a business and you go like business to consumer, where it's like, hey, you have to like tie into like the emotion, etc. Versus when you go like B2B, it's like, dude, just tell me like how much it costs. Does it make sense for me? Like, where am I at? What am I struggling with? Like, I can connect the dots. Like, you're gonna help me make money, so it's a little bit different, and I think that's important. So when you go into the close. We'll just get past the other part because obviously I'm sure you ask like medical questions, try to figure out where they're at. Agent.
yeah, well, I mean, personally, dude, I think that's a big part. Medical questions.
Okay, walk through
you,
it then.
you build a lot of credibility through the medical questions is actually what I found. But it's not just asking them, like basics, like high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes. No, like I actually have it like a kind of in detail, you know. So it's like when it goes, are you taking any, you know, like blood thinners, heart medications? Are you taking, you know, any high medications for high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, any neuropathy, any asthma, COPD, any anxiety or depression, kidney or liver problems, hospitalizations in the last year for 48 hours or more? And that's knocking out the basics of everything major. But say I'm like, okay, you know, Mr. Tarby, are you taking any like any high blood pressure medications? Yeah, but then again, it's like I'm educated enough and I know enough. Like, what are the basic high blood pressure medications? Well, it's like, okay, are you taking like lisinopril, metoprolol, amlodipine, and you're naming those medications off, and like even if they don't, like they might not know, and you name it off, and they're like, oh, boom, it is that one. And then I'm taking this as well, and you know what I mean. So you're building that credibility because you just told them you do it 6 days a week. So if you're asking them, you know, medical questions, and you're asking and you're giving, you know, factual things, like they're like, oh, or it might not be like, oh, I used to be on lisinopril, but now I'm taking atrovast. But it's like you have to be a student, you know what I mean? So it's like medical underwriting is a huge part because you have to be able to know like they don't want to, you know, bounce application to application, guys. Like they want to be straight to the point. Like they want to they want to know if they're approved or denied. Like, and they want to be told straight up with like.
Yeah. No,
So
that's
so
super.
when you do that, you're building credibility on yourself, you know, of building, you know, even if you've been doing it for 2 days and you know those things and you've studied the script enough in those 2 days to know those things, you can close the deal right there. Just because you can earn their trust like that. Like I think that's there and pen and piece of paper, obviously, and you know, license information and medical questions is where I really like I would say almost build credibility.
Yeah, that's a unique way to do it, but I like it a lot. Now, when it comes to options, or is there another step in the process? Let me not even assume. What do you do?
After medical questions, it's like that's actually whenever I'll ask like perfect, you know, as I'm looking at the landscape of things here for you, because you know, I obviously have our tool, so I have their medications, health conditions, I know who's gonna give them the approval. And it's like, you know, as I'm looking through the options here in our system, I'm kind of curious. Are you simply just looking to add coverage to what you already have, or you know, is this your first time?
Right, and they say it's my first time.
First time, then you know, boom. Obviously, it's going to be. I pitch whole life, so it's like you know I'm going to pitch them whole life. So boom, go through, explain whole life. You know, obviously ask if they have any questions. And as I'm going through explaining whole life, which I mean, if you explain it different, explain it different. So however you explain it, ask more questions. Like right after you say something, does that make sense? Does that make sense? Don't just keep word vomiting on whole life. Ask them because they want to feel involved. Whenever you make someone feel involved, everybody loves, you know, everybody wants to be involved at the end of the day. So those little, and I'd probably say, does that make sense 100 times throughout my script if I counted it? Like if I actually did that, like I have voice memos, I could do it. I should do a transcript of how many times I say it, and like count how many times do I say, does that make sense? But
Yeah.
no, right after after I explain whole life, I'm like perfect. You know, you go back to the pen and piece of paper. I'm gonna have you write down A, B, and C, just like a multiple choice question. Let me know when you got that. Boom, they got it. And then depending on their goal, you know, if you're going to pitch, you know, 20, I would say, so you're going to pitch 30,000, 20,000, 10,000. So it's like, boom, you're like they got A, B, and C right down. It's like perfect. So right next to the A option, I'll have you write down $30,000 worth of coverage. And then I wait. I don't tell them a price. I'm like, okay, now for the B option, I'll write down 20,000. And then for the C option, I'd write down 10,000. And then keep in mind, obviously, we can go, you know, higher, lower, anywhere in between for you as well. Does that make sense? Boom, they're going to say yes. So from that point on, it's like, okay, just to go back up to the A option of the $30,000 worth of coverage, I would say that would just have you setting aside the 125 on the monthly basis. But I don't say dollars. I'm just like, that's gonna have you setting aside the 125 on the monthly basis. I wait for like some sort of acknowledgement. Sometimes they'll be like, okay. Sometimes they'll be like, or like make a noise, like make some sort of noise or something. So
Yeah.
it's like you know what I mean. I like to have fun. So it's like they'll make some sort of noise, but I wait for that acknowledgement. And then I move on down to the next option. And for the B option, you know, same thing. It's going to be 20,000. It's going to have you setting aside the 115 on the monthly basis. Okay. And they're like, okay, perfect. Now just to move on down to the C option, the 10,000, that's going to have you setting aside the 85 on the monthly basis. And it's not like saying dollars is like a bad thing, but it's like I love psychology whenever I was in like college. So it's like a trigger word, you know, like whenever someone hears like dollars, they're like, ooh. But if like you're just like 125 on the monthly basis, even if you say that to yourself, like if you're like I just spent $300, you're like, or like $500, $1,000, like dang, I just spent $1,000. We're like, I just spent like, you know, 150 last week. You see the you kind
Yeah.
of see the you kind of see the
Yeah,
difference.
no, no, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And that's what, obviously makes it, justifiable there. So after I do that, C option, they acknowledge. I'm like, perfect. So now, Mr. Tarpley, kind of based off of those three options that we are looking at there for you, which one makes absolutely no sense to you at all?
Yeah, and then let's say I say option A.
Option A. Okay. So I'll go ahead and have you just put an X through that one there on your end.
Okay.
I wait for the acknowledgement. I'm like, perfect. Now, out of the B and the C option, which one's not only going to be affordable, but also provide you and your family enough value?
Option B.
Option B. Okay. So I'll go ahead and have you circle that there on your end. And then, I do just want to make sure, Mr. Tarpley, that, the 125, that is something that is going to be affordable for you on a monthly basis, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so even if something crazy happens, you got to get a new dishwasher, maybe replacing tires on the vehicle, anything crazy like that, that would still be affordable for you.
Nah, I don't think so. If something happens, I mean, I like that option. It makes the most sense, but maybe with that being said, I should probably go with the last option.
Okay, so the good news is you can always actually upgrade it, in the future as well. So what we'll go ahead and do is we'll go ahead and have you circle the C option instead. Is the 85, is that something that would absolutely be affordable for you, kind of no matter what?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, perfect. So obviously I'll have you circle that one there on your end, and then I'm gonna get the application started up here on my end. Okay, boom, into the app.
You do your thing. Yeah, bro. That's fire, bro. That's fire. I like that. I think that's gonna help out agents a lot. Cool, man. Is there anything else on your sales process you want to touch on?
I don't like, I mean, social, like I don't complicate social, like I really don't. Like there was, whenever I first started, there's a guy who he's in a different office now. He's in a Chicago office. When I first started, he was here in Tampa though. I was like doing good, like pitching, getting into applications, building a relationship with the clients, but like I couldn't get people social. And I was like, why is that? It was because I was word vomiting. I was telling them why I need their social pretty much, and then I asking them for their social. So it's like the way I like to think of that is like he was like, dude, the way I asked for social is like, okay, Mr. Tarpley, you are a U.S. citizen, correct? Or like, or with veterans especially, I'm like, okay, Mr. Tarpley, obviously, they do make me ask, but you obviously are a U.S. citizen, correct? And I kind of laugh and like make it a joke. And they're like, well, I hope so, or I have been for 70 years. I'm like, hey, absolutely. And then with that, what would just be a good social to attach to your policy?
I like
And then
that.
if they're like, you know what I mean? So it's like you're validating why you need their social. You making it make sense why they need to, or why they need to give you their social. But then again, if they're like, if they give you a rebuttal, then you can save it for like the simplified issue, the MIB not having to come out to do blood work, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you get to save that as ammunition, and then you also get to save it as far as like if they don't, if say you use that one and they don't bite on it, they're not going to give you social. It's like, okay, God forbid, if, like when something does happen to you, that not only like is that how they get you approved, that's also actually how they're going to tie the death certificate, back to the policy. Either they're going to match up your first and last name, your date of birth, and your social security number. So that's actually how your beneficiary is going to make that death claim. And that's how they're going to verify, it is you, Mr. Tarpley. Does that make sense? But
Yeah.
boom, what did I do? Made it like I said, does that make sense? Obviously, he's gonna be like, oh, well, yeah. Like, okay, perfect. So what's a good social for you?
Yeah. You just go right back to
And
it.
then if they get pushback on that, like it's a go ahead and click the green button. Like most of the time, if they got an iPhone, it does like if I get any like any kind of like objection or anything, it's like okay, go ahead and click the green button.